Svādhyāya is self-study, and Ishta Devata is the chosen Deva, the individual image of the divine. And Sampra Yoga is a very interesting word. So we know the word yoga means joining or union. Sam means also together, joining, union. And pra is another amplifier prefix. So it's like triply amplified yoga. It's got a lot of emphasis on like ultimate union, ultimate connection. So I find that to be pretty interesting. So something about studying the higher teachings, studying mantra, and then studying the self-studying, as Manorma used to remind us, that you're not just studying Sanskrit, you're not just studying the texts, but you're also studying the mind interacting with the texts. And this was actually a big idea for the philosopher Hegel as well. He had this idea that since we don't have access to other consciousnesses, the way to understand the nature of consciousness is to understand this part of the conscious universe as well as possible. So that by understanding this mind, we might have an opportunity to understand consciousness itself. So I love that svādhyāya can mean study of the scriptures and study of the texts and mantras, but it also means studying the self. And there's something about studying the same thing over a long period of time, right? Satu dirgha kala. That, if you're kind of in that business of like acquiring new asanas and acquiring new mantras and changing and trying this meditation and trying that meditation, trying this meditation and trying this and that, and that something about the mind's craving of novelty doesn't allow us to go perhaps as deep as studying one thing for a long period of time. So, we can almost intuit that from meditation practice or from asana practice that, meditating once a month for 15 minutes isn't going to kind of get us the big results. That there's something about meditating consistently over a long period of time that gets us the results. And one of the things that's beautiful about keeping like a meditation journal, for example, is that it gives us that experience of how changing the mind is on a day-to-day basis, right? One day you're focused, one day you're distracted, one day you have the flu, one day you're, whatever it is, lethargic, one day, and that, every moment of every day, the mind is shifting and experiencing these changes. And so that is the nature of the mind, is like that change. So then observing consciousness through all those changes, like there's a part of the mind that's like always changing, but then there's a part of the mind that's big and still and connected and whole, right? And that's what we're looking for. In that same vein, I think it's really useful to teach or practice the same sequences again and again, right? I know that especially as a teacher, I also find myself feeling pressured to create new sequences, create new playlists, new classes, new this, new that, new talk. That desire for novelty is a big pressure in this culture. But there is value in studying the same asanas again and again, right? Just ask the Ashtangis, right? And that if you're only practicing this or that asana from time to time, you're not really developing a relationship with the asana. And then as teachers, it's also interesting to study the asana itself, not only how you come into it, how you come out of it, but then also the context of the asana. What do I put before this asana so that it leads to the most success? Or, what can I sequence to lead us to a very specific feeling in the asana? And what do I follow it with? In other words, how does the way the sequence fit together affect the result? Even the sun salutations, I was sort of reflecting on the fact that the sun salutation is somewhat like a mantra that I say over and over and over again every day for 15 years, right? But I was remembering when I first started learning how to call out the sun salutation, I would be walking around New York City with my headphones on, trying to speak it out loud to myself. So I'd be walking around New York City going, okay, hook thumbs, reach up, arch back, exhale, bend the knees, swing the arms behind the back. Oh, stop. Try again. Okay. Inhale, hook thumbs, reach up, arch back, exhale. And I would over and over again be reciting this mantra while I was walking around the Lower East Side, but that's how it becomes a part of your teaching practice. That's how you learn it, right? Even when I'm learning a new mantra or a new kirtan or a new shloka on the harmonium, right? There's a phase where, I'm listening to someone else play it, and I listen until I can almost like sing it inside my head. And then once I've got the tune sort of stuck in my head, as we say, then I sit down and I try to like, what note was that on again? And then I try to kind of figure out the arrangement, and I might try it really slow, I might try it really fast, then maybe I add the words in, and so like that I can sort of describe for you how I've learned, what process I go through, what are the steps I go through to learn a new mantra. And so if you're interested in self-study, that's also an interesting level to watch the mind on. Like, how did I get from here to here to here to here? In asanas in particular, because as we know, like, sometimes the best performers of asana don't always make the best teachers because they haven't done that very investigation of, okay, here's the obstacle I'm feeling. Here are some things I can do to improve that obstacle. Here are the asanas that I need to prepare myself for that asana that I'm heading towards. In other words, that investigation hasn't necessarily unfolded, right? And so the best teachers are the ones that can actually not only interpret their own experience of learning it and how they got around their obstacles, but then also be able to convey it to the students. So self-study is particularly important for teachers to be able to engage with. Sita